Okay, good day, ladies and gentlemen. We begin with the first of the two parts of our e-lectures this week on television lifestyle before going to next week, which we will deal with the difference between new media and old media in television in Singapore itself. So bear in mind that once again, I would like to reiterate that you do not need to go for classes physically at LT7 early in the morning at 9:30, and so just sit back, relax in the comforts of your own home or your own surroundings, and enjoy the show that I will be putting up for the next two sessions. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we will start with uh, television lifestyle week 10. You do have some time more to go. Just two sessions left, so bear with it. And what do we know about television lifestyles? You will probably be thinking of how characters are portrayed and how products and other forms of living advertisements are projected to the audiences in a way that perhaps uh, would mean to encourage a certain type of living in a certain type of society, to inspire you to try to pattern your lives, your way of living, your way of relating to people to certain type of formats, certain types of ways that are acceptable or probably socially trendy for its times. And the small screen being a very ubiquitous part of society would be a very important instrument of transmitting and even in such messages, and for better or worse, it has always been one source that people would attribute changes in society to. So what I would intend to do with this session today would be not just to try to frame the different types of concepts on how you can look at the lifestyles of television in general, but more specifically with four probably case studies that you have from the PowerPoint slides that you see here, of how different types of lifestyles are being promoted in Singapore itself, and how what sort of values, what sort of ideas that they try to put forward to audiences in this city-state. At this point, what I would like to stress to is that you would, by the end of this lecture, be able to not just to understand the concepts, but maybe perhaps for your homework, you may want to try to go to look at a certain type of TV genre programs in Singapore. Either home decor, fashion, technology, gadgets, whatsoever, food, hawker, gourmet stuff, restaurants. There's a whole range of it. I would suggest that you can try to go either to YouTube or to Sin MSN television, where you have under the lifestyle section a whole lot of catch-up TV in which you can try to use this framework that I will be giving to look at these programs, and hopefully, hopefully that may be of help with your examination itself. First of all, um, to understand lifestyle, we have to look at the issues of modernity. Do not be really frightened by this whole concept of modernity. It is something that if you understand it superficially, it can mean the present moment. It has its historical basis in enlightenment. It means rationalization of knowledge. It means industrialization, the world coming closer together, the whole ideas of industrial time, mechanicalization, in which your life is regulated by a factory system, but it also means a whole lot of issues of social arrangements, breaking away from the feudal agrarian society. It also means a certain type of lifestyle involved that chases the present, that emphasizes on change and the future instead of that of the past that is seen as nostalgia. Alongside with modernity too involve that of urbanity or urban living. So how do you live in a town? How do you live in a congested city and yet look trendy, look comfortable or feel comfortable in the space? How do you negotiate your social arrangements with your family that is increasingly shrunk from the huge extended family of the feudal period to that of the smaller nuclear family unit? What do I mean by nuclear family unit? It means a compact household of the immediate family of mother, father, and kids living under one roof. And how do you negotiate with such arrangements? Linking with that are also in the modern era the kind of conflict between uh, individuality and collectivity, between exerting individual rights, individual pleasures and enjoyment against that of collective obligations. Now, this is not the time to go into the pros and cons of different value systems, but this is the way in which the modern world desires. How do you operate in the modern world? Linked to that of individuality will be probably that of mobility. If you've seen a lot of advertisements, a lot of videos, the big emphasis is that on movement, transit, airplane, train, ships, cars. Modern life is one that is constantly in motion and never stopping. So the next point about modernity linked to capitalism will be that of consumption and disposability. Since nothing stays static in the modern era, there is always a need to come up with new things, try out new things, and consume new stuff, and discard the old. So this can be summarized as the modern experience, and how does television relate to it? So when you put everything together, when you put your issues of ideas of modernity and the associational traits and characteristics of it, and mobility, individuality, etc., what do you get on TV? I think of immediately, maybe it's my age, perhaps, of days when cigarette advertisements were still permitted, when there was nothing wrong with smoking a Marlboro, as you can see in this PowerPoint presentation, of lifestyles. What is the modern man? The modern man is like the Marlboro man, free individual who is always on the move on the horse, adventurous, as well as stylish. I mean, he is not handpicked by the family. He doesn't have kids lots of kids and old people to commit to. He's a free moving man. So this is what I would call perhaps the idealization of a certain lifestyle. The normalization in the case of cigarettes itself as a way of modern living to kind of beat the stress, to look composed, The cigarette here gives the character the stimulus, literally, medically even, and here on TV, culturally and metaphorically, an opportunity to be in place at ease with itself. So, linked to that in the Marlboro Man would be that of a glamorous lifestyle. I mean, the lifestyle that is not just idealized, but one which is, especially in the television and cinema age, highly, I would say, stylized, highly desirable, highly sought after as well. This is what makes the person sexy. So when you think of being stylized, you think of being sexy, you think of being completely comfortable, completely mobile, completely in the kind of admirable gaze of the audience. This is what fashion is about. To be right in the cutting edge, to be at the frontier of lifestyles here. So this is what I mean by idealization, normalization, and glamorization, and perhaps you have other ideas as well. Now, hold on. I'm not here to endorse cigarette ads, but I just want to show what sort of lifestyles televisions can promote. And sometimes when patterns of life have passed, it's easier to look at it in retrospect. Why was there any kind of attraction to smoking, and how television plays a part in it, which I will actually look not at smoking subsequently, but other types of lifestyles themselves that may not be the most desirable, may not be the healthiest, but sometimes the healthiest types of living may not be the most desirable. So once again, want to stress that smoking harms your health, and I'm not here to promote any cigarettes, although I'm not here to stop you from smoking either. I would just like to add that every country, every society has its own interpretations of modernity, even though the history and it's universal. Every society, every country is reached by air travel. Every place has an idea of what modern living is about, either in terms of just normal superficial consumption lifestyles to deeper ideas of individuality. What I want to show in Singapore's case is how contemporary Singapore, since 1965, defines modernity. Something as I put in the various pictures here, urbanism, of course, as the country has urbanized rapidly since the 60s, where farms were entirely demolished to be replaced by new towns and housing estates, people living in flatted factories and and public housing, working in flat factories and public living in public housing environment, as well as putting everyone together in a kind of multicultural framework that is defined by the state in some ways, but happening in a more undercurrent way within society itself. And with the whole idea of modern living comes about consumption and mobility too. When we talk in Singapore about the 5 Cs, among them will be the desire for more glamorous, I would not, perhaps even stable middle class lifestyle that is defined by car, country club, cash, uh, and so on and so forth, to credit cards as well, to give you a sense of mobility and to give you the freedom to consume and to move. And how do you get that? Perhaps meritocracy promoted by the government. A meritocratic process that is based on a certain social mobility that is premised upon educational qualification rather than other types of backgrounds that are considered feudal, like ethnicity, race, or even family backgrounds. But speaking about family too, this Singapore state has also promoted a unique way, I would say, of family living. The kind of collective ideology, the ideologies of collectivism that people have to look after the families, it's the owners, it's their responsibility. You see it in Jack Neo movies ad nauseum, use that the importance of filial piety, etc. And everything is kind of grounded towards that, including your policies, the way in which you live together. So such it's perhaps you will see later reflected in that of television itself. Alright, without further ado, we will go to our first case study on McDonald's. I'm not sure how many times you eat McDonald's every week, but I'm pretty sure for one thing that those growing up in Singapore will know what McDonald's mean to you. I mean, if you have studied over there during your secondary school days, if you have had your birthdays being celebrated, this were the many really sweet times, I suppose, and maybe even your first date. So McDonald's has been part of the modern Singapore experience since it opened in the late 70s or the early 80s. And I think many of you do have pretty fond memories of McDonald's itself. Although nowadays the fast food chain and its other competitors like Burger King too have come under significant fire from the public for its products that is food that is not the healthiest of them all. And you have even documentaries that try to prove what would happen to you if you eat McDonald's meal every day for a month. Of course, if you eat anything non-stop for a month, nothing good will happen to your body. But for me, so far, this morning, I'm not having a McDonald's upsized Coke, but a good cup of healthy Chinese tea. So, let's watch a McDonald's, one of its most, I think, memorable video advertisement in 1991 that thankfully someone has kept it and has placed it on YouTube. So, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this homemade McDonald's video clip.
Good morning. May I help you, please?
One big breakfast.
Pancakes, Happy Meal.
Sekejap sini. Kopi O satu. One McChicken. Make it two. Make it three.
Big Mac.
Filet fish, please.
炸薯条。 这是我孙子，最小的，很顽皮呀、带他出来很麻烦，他只喜欢美多呢。
One chocolate shake. One pie.
Four pies.
Thank you for watching. Good night.
வணக்கம்.
Selamat malam.
So I'm sure some of you may have come across this advertisement, very considered old, more than 2 decades. But you can see why I have used this as an example and how probably it will be one of the classics in McDonald's advertisements in Singapore. Not just McDonald's, but perhaps TV advertisement. It's not the price it's won, but the ability to capture the kind of localism and harmonize it with a global brand, or maybe the other way around, vice versa. The localization of McDonald's itself, making it a homely product, the coexistence of different values. If you can see that there was this whole idea of change and continuity from what filmmakers call the match cut in the top right of images of your PowerPoint, opening of the steel shutters against the horizontally in the provisions shop against that of the rolling shutter in the McDonald's chain itself. So they're trying to show that in the era in the 80s there were a lot of arguments about how McDonald's was part of westernization that was taking away people's taste for traditional food. So McDonald's in this advertisement, in this little few seconds of a match cut itself, relational cut as they call it, try to show that it's not there to threaten or to wipe out traditional cultures. And then you can see in the whole idea of inclusivity, different ethnic groups are involved. Every group is comfortable in the McDonald's chain. The old grandmother, with her statement that was so iconic, with her young little grandson in McDonald's, the Malay housewife coming back from marketing, taking a break in McDonald's, different types of people visiting it, as well as, you can go there alone, you can have a family occasion, you can also have a romantic dinner in the McDonald's in King Albert, which is unfortunately going away. I'm not sure about you, but for my generation in the 80s, growing up as our teens, that was the place in which teenagers will go for their dates. This was one of the few places that you have the kind of glass facade in which, you can have a kind of very urbanized type of lifestyle, which was really desirable then. And of course, the whole notions of mobility and motion too. One of the clips showing a Malay kid skateboarding to what do you call drive-through McDonald's, ordering food. The same way in which the same mobility that McDonald's gives to a family coming into the outlet to take away, the kind of drive-through with a car itself. So McDonald's becomes a case on how different values are harmonized and issues of modernity brought together at the same time. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are not have not rushed to McDonald's after watching this advertisement out of hunger, or out of just like wanting to kind of repeat these sentiments, to consume the burgers as well as to consume the emotions, the nostalgia, and you're still with me, we move on to home ownership, home furnishing and housing in television programs, which has been part of your readings as well, as they talk about how lifestyle programs are being globalized increasingly, where the viewers become also the participants of this new genre of television that even not just the TV screen invading your domestic living room or even bedroom settings, but the TV personas, the TV characters themselves as well. So what do we make out of this? Perhaps it would be a case of the kind of promise of social mobility. What the television station and what the television personas can help you to achieve, subjected to the point that you are willing to be placed in public scrutiny and gaze, how you get humiliated. They love the kind of before and after narratives. Just think of slimming, hair loss, etc. How these TV personalities, these TV programs can help you to achieve the social mobility, the cultural capital in terms of better furniture that you desire to live in this modern society. And increasingly there are many of these programs that try to do not just lifestyle, but to add an element of social responsibility, corporate social responsibility into their programs, where you have TV personalities going into the homes of this socially underprivileged people that they manage to find, and to help them to improve their lives, to give them new furniture, to give them impression. I would want to say more importantly, the impression that they are making social and behavioral changes. I'm personally quite disturbed with some of these programs, especially in the Chinese language videos, clips that I'll be showing subsequently. But it seems to me that there's a certain policing of poverty, there's a certain kind of moral high grounding, a certain type of condescending behavior on the part of the TV personalities. But I'll leave it here for you to judge on your own. Alright, here I would like to apologize that some of these clips have no Chinese or English subtitles, and therefore please bear with the inconvenience. But just watching from the images, I'm sure you will probably get the picture itself. So sorry once again.
取代了原本的屏风协会，让评审进门就有画中看画的视觉效果。
OK， 好，漂亮。
婉转视觉刺激您的想象思维。播放组的视觉艺术走的是 ARTI 的抽象路线，通过不同层次的形状和颜色搭配，为客厅的各个角落注入不同的视觉艺术，有些耐人寻味，有些好玩逗趣。无论站在哪一个角度欣赏，都像在博物馆看艺术展。五彩缤纷的新设计不但为原本单调的客厅增添了不少生气，别具一格的抽象艺术也让家里变得更有特色，根本看不出这是一般的五房式组。
我们来了，还有带人过来 ，Hello， 你好。
6岁的 Rakuma 患有先天性心脏疣孔，还有轻微过动，和妈妈 Coris 相依为命。为了照顾儿子 ，Coris 只能当兼职，每月收入300-400元，过着非常清寒的生活。但是他说，日子再难，只要儿子在身边，多苦都愿意。简陋的3房式祖屋内，因为缺乏打理，杂物囤积，所以客厅的状况十分糟糕。
其实它这个客厅啊，它不只是一个客厅，它也是一个饭厅，所以呢，它是一个 4-in-1的客厅。
你们看这是什么？TV console 怎么会买那么大的一个？
我没有买，是人家给的。
这边一张，这边一张。
One small, one big 这样。
还有一个 coffee table， 我把它当成我的 printer table。
你干什么？
我在画画。对啊，然后就是没有一个适合的地方去做功课啊，画画。就是打铃的书桌，他在这里吃饭、读书。全部都是在这里，你看他位置都没有地方画，所以他就在这个小小的空间里趴着啊、躺住啦，随便哪里就是做功课。
你这个办公的地方也不对， 啊，办公的这个座太小，这个椅子太大。哇！
然后这个灯是我儿子的宝贝啦。
哦。这些 hamster 是谁的？
我的
是你的啊。
我一开始我只有一对，只是因为它生成现在这么多只。
这样的话就有点不卫生嘛，对。如果是太多的话，
对。
那你有没有想过把这些 hamster 送给人？送给
有啊，我就一直在等啊。
其实我在这个客厅有看到6个小奇观啊，
什么？
就是有一个冰箱。
因为冰箱我厨房没有办法放，所以就放在这边。
所以是人家送的，对不对？
对。
冰箱太大，东西太少，没有说去买一些菜啊、肉啊什么。
没有，因为有时候我根本没有办法去买那些菜来收。有时候呢，为了给孩子吃饭，不够钱，他一天只吃1餐而已。
当主持人听到 Coris 一天只吃1餐时，心里非常的震撼。由于入不敷出，所以 Coris 只好到各慈善组织领取粮食礼包。两母子的生活状况令人担忧。
这是我睡房。
哇，你的睡房为什么没有床的？你睡哪里？
我的床就是这个，
没有床架。
原因是因为一半也是为了我的小瓜，因为他通常会在这边玩。
OK。
白天没有睡吧，我就把这个
收起来，
放上来。
那你这个床我有睡了几年了
？8年了，对我来讲还可以睡我就睡了，除非它是烂到不行啊，那就才丢吧。那个时候就是睡地板了。
Rakuma 的出事让 Coris 的经济负担顿时加重。打从娘胎出世至今，他便被陆续诊断有过动症、轻微阅读障碍和对立性违抗症等等。这些接踵而来的噩耗对 Coris 来说雪上加霜。
Rakuma 好像出事没多久就动了一个很大的手术，对不对？出事多久啊？那时候
6天。
6天。动什么手术？
那个大动脉的，动了那个手术之后，就是让他的下半身可以长。因为他都大动脉窄小，然后如果不动的话，他的上半身会长，能下半身就 S baby 的 size。
哇，这么小就动那么大的手术啊？
从前面这边到后面all the way到这边。
就这个地方。
其实是在我怀孕的时候，我已经知道他有这样的问题。当时候医生曾经劝我说，要不要把孩子打掉，因为他有这样的问题，可是我做不到。
Rakuma出事之后啊，多久你就跟你的丈夫
？3岁。因为他一直说孩子不是他的，而且他又说我外面有男人，其实我根本都没有。然后我就因为他而我得了忧郁跟焦虑症，而曾经自杀。
造化弄人，面对这一切困境 ，Coris 能不能走出阴霾呢？
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that my room is a little screwed up as well, and perhaps I need the kind of help that this poverty-stricken families receive from these TV personalities too. That I need to be morally scrutinized, that my life is horrid, I'm a failed academic, that I deserve care from this really nice gentleman and women, ladies as well, from the TV station to make over my room. I want a new 50-inch flat screen, the HD 3D TV perhaps, and I don't mind shedding over tears over it. Okay, anyway, we move from a really kind of before-after kind of home furniture and furnishing as part of building of modern lifestyles on television to something that we discussed about in the earlier slides of that of glamorization. this brings us to our next case study. You know that Singapore for the past 10 years has changed its landscape significantly with the development of Marina Bay project. It aims to be not only just an industrial city-state, but also that of a lifestyle, high life, to capture cultural capital, to bring in people who are willing to spend the biggest dollars. So you have in Marina Bay the iconic buildings over there in Marina Bay Sand, which is supposed to be one that manifests such high living. And you can see it in last year's National Day parade video that you have the Oliver Ong, the one of what they call a world-class or maybe more famous outside Singapore jazz vocalist who sings at the top of Marina Bay Sands overlooking the photographic and iconic city skyline, providing a very seductive type of imagery of what this city is about. It brings you to maybe images of like Sex and the City, New York, London. The ability of Singapore to provide such high, trendy, glamorous living conditions too. And you can see in the video lots of young, beautiful people. Even the old look beautiful themselves. So you don't have this poverty-stricken, you don't have this pitiful looking characters in the Channel 8 programs that you have just seen short clips of earlier. And instead, you see a very glamorized version of Singapore, one that has been picked up by even foreign television networks, like even Korean popular music, as you can see in this advertisement by sorry, not advertisement, music video by 2 p.m. Hands Up. For fans, you will be very well familiar with this, especially if you're a big fan of 2 p.m. and Korean pop, which is making kind of vogue in around the region and the world, particularly with Gangnam Style. But this is not Gangnam Style. This is something that is more glamorous. Boys that are much slimmer and with smoother skins, unlike yours truly that you see here. So one part of 2 p.m.'s video was shot in Singapore, and you can see that it's a Singapore that is recognized. I would say that if it's recognized by you or intimately familiar for you, then I would say congratulations that you are perhaps living such high life. But for the bulk of the majority, the 80% that you see in that live in public housing, those that you see in Jack News films, it's a completely different world. But I will let you look at how surreal and glamorous this world in this clip, and we will subsequently contrast it with the last case study on what I would call the more sentimental communitarian types of television advertisement projections placed by both the government, a kind of public-private and relationship between the government and filmmakers themselves. So enjoy Hands Up. Anyway, just want to add further here. From the little clip that you have seen, an excerpt of it, what is being emphasized here? What you see in just that 1 minute? Mobility, right? In that little clip excerpt that I have extracted, you do see how characters transcend distance. The ability to hit the golf ball in the Marina Bay itself, traveling in first class on what is recognized as Singapore Airlines. The next point would be the yacht I think it's in Kappa Cove, as well as lastly the Ferrari car. So you have the idea of youth and mobility, the ease in travel from different cities, from different world-class cities where Singapore is part of this circuit. The ability to enjoy life, the ability to have the kind of youthful indulgence that I may have mentioned before on the earlier lectures, and how this was being disdained as being decadent. But in the new Singapore, in the television scape, this becomes celebrated. This is where you can live out your modern fantasies, that you can always look young and pretty with your fast cars and planes as well. Okay, if you're sick of the song after 20 seconds, this is a good time to stop. If you are a 2 p.m. fan, you know the whole clip. I don't really need to add in 4 minutes of put your hands up, and you know the drill basically. But I want to move on from the kind of glamorized youth to the last case study. Thankfully, right guys, I think you have fair ball enough of me online now. For a generation of like they're only used to 5 minutes clips. So last one, okay. Case study on the kind of public private engagement collaborations to make television adverts or maybe social messages on the kind of tensions and arrangements that are going through society, how to make sense of the changes around you, how to promote kind of values that may be swept away by modernity itself, values of family, values of filial piety. And I think from the government's standpoint is how to also promote through television programs, advertisement, health messages and other social messages that are useful and important for urban living. So you have, for example, I placed two filmmakers here, Royston Tan, in whom you have seen for Old Romances, and some of you in your assignments have talked about his films like 15 and 881, and Yasmin Ahmad, the Malaysian filmmaker, the late Malaysian filmmaker, who has one of her strengths in her themes is multiculturalism. So both of them have provided a very soft edge to the sort of social messages involved, inclusiveness and multiculturalism. I talk about, in the last word, immateriality. So unlike the kind of contrast that you see in the earlier ads, McDonald's, 2 p.m., home furnishing, it's based on a lot of materialistic projections, right? You need your furniture, you need your burgers, you want to be able to like hit your golf balls in Marina Bay, which I don't think it really happens. So here it's about the kind of kinship, values, sentiments, ties that bind beyond that of material, ties that continues, memories that are invoked, and as well as bonds that are created from not the kind of glamorous living, but more intimate settings, more informal use of language, Singlish, different type of ethnic groups interacting with each other, living harmoniously, understanding each other's norms. So this is what you see in some of the videos here, in which I'll just show a short clip by Royston Tan on Kaki, which means friends in Malay, on how health messages are being promoted.
Hey Yong
Yeah.
after we finish our makan we should go to the clinic and get our screening kit.
Again? 去年我已经检验过了 I don't need to do it again this year.
Oh, sure Yang I thought you already makan yesterday, so you don't have to makan again today, right?
Lightroom, 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 oh la la, Lightroom, Lightroom.
So ladies and gentlemen, what a difference do you see between a coffee shop setting of two men talking about health issues, quite serious health issues, compared to the ever youthful 2 p.m. dancing away and partying away in a super glamorized Singapore, I would say. So this is what the whole lecture is about. How do you kind of contrast the different types of the projection of lifestyles by television? I try to frame it along so that you can understand the readings, the one reading a little bit more, to look at the kind of spectrum between, if you see in the clip here, the PowerPoint here, between the materialistic at one end and the communitarian. So one stresses on the kind of aspirations, I would call it, the part of modernity, consumption, individualism, mobility, branding, glamorization, how you package the country together to make it look so mobile, make it so hip and trendy, at the forefront of the modern world. To make it look so, what people would call in this country high class, but there's this kind of elitist feeling that you're already up there, you have already reached the kind of living lifestyles that you want, versus that of the inspirational. How you get people to go beyond the material? How do you get people to, through television programs, think of the kind of bonds that tie each other, the bonds that are beyond that of the material, beyond that of monetary quantifications, beyond that of the dollar? How do you show care? How do you promote community? How do you put commitments across, or to showcase commitment, or to idealize it, that puts it above a monetary value? How do you look at reality? How do you promote it kind of intimacy on the vernacular sphere, the grassroots? So this is what the kind of contrast that I wanted to put across here in the talk too. So this is it for the first lecture, the e-lecture on television component of the film and television course. So I will see all of you again online next week, hopefully, for the last lecture on social media and television. So bye everyone.